So hello everyone, we are the group 1 and we'll be tackling about the interpretation of assessment results. And these are our objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to discuss about the analyzing and interpreting assessment data, to know about the concept of constructive feedback, to develop a framework for adjusting assessment methods in educational settings to align with students' learning outcomes, to develop strategies for assessing the understanding and progress of diverse learners in the social studies classroom, ensuring equitable opportunities for all students to succeed, and lastly, understand the importance of ethical consideration in assessment practices. So for my part, I am Camila Arcalatero and I'll be discussing to you the analyzing and interpreting assessment data. So analyzing and interpreting assessment data, this interpreting assessment result is really a crucial step in understanding the performance, the progress, and the learning outcomes of individuals or groups. So it involves analyzing assessment data and the data interpretation. So when we say data analysis, so it is a process of transforming a data to discover useful information and to form conclusions. So this data analysis, it involves looking closely at the information collected from assessments to understand what it tells us about students' performance. So, mura na siya kanang nag-examine ka og puzzle, tapos imong gipangita ang katong mga fit ana na puzzle. So, inana na siya ang data analysis. And then the data interpretation, this is the process of making sense out of a collection of data that has been processed. So, what do the results of the study mean? So, this part is perhaps the most critical aspect of the research report. So, this will constitute the overall conclusion of your study. So, this data interpretation is like reading between the lines of the information collected. So, muna siya. So, sa idea pa, data analysis and data interpretation. So, imagine like, nagbuo ka og puzzle. So, di ba sa puzzle, kay imo man dyan napangitaon kung unsay mga fit together ana niya. So, kung unsay ka ng mga puzzle, ay like, unsay mga shapes na nakakuha na niya. Naka-shapes na angay ana niya, angay ana na side. So, inana ang data analysis. So, nangita ko mga puzzle na ma-fit siya together. And after the data analysis, if na complete na nimo siya na puzzle, so ara na mo sud ang data interpretation. So, ang data interpretation, siya ang mo-analyze sa puzzle. Kung unsa na siya ang puzzle na gibuo, kung unsa na siya all about, kung sa meaning ana niya. So, ang kanang data interpretation, mas dig deeper pa dyan na siya. So, nagets ra ba? So, like, crucial man ni siya ang kaning interpretation of assessment result. So, naa na siya mga like na yung mga process in analyzing and interpreting assessment data. So, ang first one, ano kaya? So, it's the quantitative analysis. So, di ba basta mo na quantitative kay mura sa quantitative research. Like, we are analyzing based on the numericals, based on the numerical data collected, in which sa mga tests, sa quizzes, o sa surveys. So, mura dyan na siya ang quantitative analysis. Mo-analyze ta based sa numerical data. So, ang atbaan ng quantitative is naatay qualitative analysis. So, sa kaning qualitative analysis is ang pag-analyze na to ana niya is written sa siya. Written na siya. Kaya, ma-obtain na nimo qualitative analysis sa mga open-ended questions, sa mga essays, o sa mga projects, di ba? So, muna siyang qualitative analysis. So, other than that, we also have the comparative analysis. Ang kaning comparative analysis, this is a data across different groups, time periods, or conditions allows for meaningful comparisons and identification of trends. So, comparative from the root word compare, 'di ba? So, nag-compare ka. So, imo gi-compare si Team A sa performance dito ni Team B or imo gi-compare si student 1 dito ni student 2. So, muna siya ang comparative analysis. Anang imo pag-analyze na niya kay nag-compare ka. So, student 1 is better than student 2. So, team B is better than the performance of the team A. So, muna siya ang comparative analysis. And then the next one, the contextual analysis. So, this contextual analysis is understanding the context in which assessment data was collected is essential for accurate interpretation. So, contextual analysis means looking at the bigger picture around the data. So, kanang wala na ay it's like considering all the things that could affect why students is bati ang iyang performance or why students nindot ang iyang performance. Wala siya nagtarong ani dapita, tungan nagtarong siya ni dapita. So, ara dara ang contextual analysis. So, dili lang siya mag-focus sa student alone sa classroom, but mag-focus siya sa student, not really mag-focus ka ng mas mo kuan siya kanang mas mo abot siya sa outside the classroom na nag-base ang kanang contextual analysis or iya na jud gi-consider ang mga other aspect niya sa student. So muna siya ang contextual analysis. And then the next one is the okay. So the next is adto na ta sa interpreting assessment data. So, in this interpreting assessment data, ang process sa niya is kailangan jud ang imong objectives is ma-align gud siya. So, the alignment with objective. So, sa imong like murag sa imong paghatag og activity is kailangan di ba align jud sa objectives. Sa imong paghatag og assessment kailangan align jud sa objectives. So, dapat gud siya ang tanan nimo gipangbuhat sa school, ang tanan nimo gipang-teach sa student is align gud siya sa imong objectives. Okay, if ever dili siya align na ay misalignment between the assessment content and the objectives, it can lead to inaccurate interpretations of result. So, na error na mahitabo. So, mo na siya. So, dapat align gyud ang objectives kung mag-interpret ta og assessment data. And then the next one is the depth of understanding. So, interpreting assessment data, it involves assessing the depth of students' understanding of the assessed into the assessed concepts or skills. So, it requires considering the complexity of responses, the extent to which students demonstrate critical thinking or problem-solving skills, and their ability to apply knowledge in different contexts. So, ang kaning depth of understanding, it really refers to how well students can grasp for a topic or a concept. So, it's like kanang dili lang siya literal na gi-memorize nimo mga facts, but that student are capable of explaining the ideas or applying that ideas into different situations or into a real life situations, or even they have the ability or they have this kanang magalig makatudlo sila sa uban So, muna siya ang depth of understanding. It's not like pure na memorization na siya about sa facts, but it's all about kanang kung giunsa mo siya paggamit in real life or kung maka-explain ba ka na idea. So, muna siya ang depth of understanding. Usap na siya sa imuhang kanan of interpreting assessment data. So the next one is the identification of patterns and trends. So this identification of patterns and trends is kuan siya kanang it's about spotting similarities ra gyud sa mga mga teachers na nangita og mga patterns and trends sa student performance, like kanang mangita sila og common denominator gani sa mga student na kani maayo din sila ni di so ina na siya. So like example kanang naka-notice ka nga kani si student A kay nag-struggle siya og answer sa math, and then kani si student B kay sayon ra kay niya na subject. So like or kani si student C kay mas maayo siya sa reading comprehension. So inana siya pa sa pag-identify og patterns and trends sa mga students. So like kanang murag ma-identify nimo ang ilang mga strengths and weaknesses. So inana na siya. And then nasabtan ra ba? Na siya sa identification of patterns and trends. So the next one is the differentiation and personalization. So kaning differentiation and personalization, it is interpreting assessment data enables educators to differentiate instruction and personalize learning experiences based on individual student needs. So ari na mura gali siya step. So after nimo na identify ang patterns and trends, so ari na ka mag-apply sa differentiation and personalization. So unsa man ang imong angay na buhaton in order for your students na ang katong ilahang weakness kay mahimo nilang strength, and ina na gani. So like kani visual learner siya, so unsay pamaagi nimo as a teacher na maka-learn jud siya na na maka-learn jud siya. So mao na siya na mo-understand ka silang strengths and weaknesses, and learn ka silang mga learning preferences, ma-identify na nimo. So like flexible ka to meet those needs sa imong mga students. Differentiation and personalization. So the next one, okay. So we'll be having so let's talk about the tips and considerations. So the first one is use both qualitative and quantitative methods to analyze and describe assessment result. So quantitative alone is not enough to analyze or interpret assessment results. So kailangan jud na nimo ang duha. Mas better kung mogamit jud na duha. Like mas malig-on ang imong pag analyze na student. So kailangan jud ka mogamit og qualitative and quantitative. The next one is compare data to provide greater meaning. So your analysis or your interpretation alone is not enough to it's not enough to judge or kanang sa student pa. So kailangan jud na nimo i-compare kay basin kanang for example maayo siya maayo siya diri, pero pag abot nimo kay dili siya maayo. So mura na sa identify kung unsay strength and weaknesses ni na bata. So at the same time, mag-compare sa kasi mga data towards to other co-teachers nimo na nag-compare mo sa data kung sakto ba na inyong analysis or sakto ba na inyong interpretation towards anak na bata. So the next one is analyze data with an equity mindset. So kung mag-analyze og data, kailangan fair ang mga pananaw sa tanan. Wala kay favoritism, wala kay mas gilabawan, wala kay mas gipanigan. So dapat fair ra gyud ang imong kuan. Walay kadugo sa pag-analyze og data. Okay. So the next one is analyze data in the context of stated SLOs and benchmarks. Kani SLOs kay student learning outcomes ni siya. So dapat jud kato alignment with objectives. Dapat naka-align jud ang mga activities, ang mga assessment na imong gihatag dito sa objectives. Then next one is note and describe observations and trends. So, dili man jud ta na ma-jot down notes sa ato ang mind. So, kailangan jud ta mag-note. Kailangan ta mag-describe sa atong mga observations towards ana na klase or towards ana na estudyante. So, in order po, para sa imong benefit sad na makabalo ka, na mas makaila ka sa imong mga estudyante. Sinana na siya, mag-note and describe jud ka. And then, lastly is, consider your audience and vary your analysis according to the audience you intend to share the data with. So, for example, mo share ka na sa imong data, dito naman jud, it's either, o para mo jud sa imong colleague, sa student, o sa campus report. So, lain kayo sa colleague nimo kay, ano sa tawag, I think that's jargon words, na kanang naadjing mga words na different meaning siya sa mga normal people lang, unlike sa mga colleague or unlike sa mga co-workers kani. So, na yung mga words na different sa lain sa inyo sa kay lahi ang meaning. So, inana so kailangan jud i-consider sa nimo imong audience sa pag-deliver nimo na ana na data. So, this is my references. And I think that would be all. So I'll give the floor to the next reporter. And I hope you learned something about the analyzing and interpreting assessment data.
So, hi everyone. So, my name is Benito Garcia Alboro and I am the next reporter. So, in this presentation, we will discuss about the concept of constructive feedback, no? On how it can be used to empower students in their academic journey. And we will also discuss the types of constructive feedback, how feedback is important, and how to provide a constructive feedback to students, and also receiving constructive feedback. Okay, so before we will start, I have one question. So, have you ever received a criticism that left you feeling discouraged or confused? So, di ba? I guess kita tanan nakasuway ana nga kina in a way na criticize ka instead of i-encourage ang yang pag-criticize, gi-discourage. Di ba? Kasuway mo anak. Kita tanan nakasuway anak. I know nakasuway pud mo jud anak. So, munang in this topic guys, let us know and explore what is constructive feedback or what is the concept of constructive feedback. Okay. Next. So what is constructive feedback? So unsay ni constructive feedback? Unsay concept ani niya? Okay. The constructive feedback, it is a way of giving criticism that helps someone improve. No? Helps someone improve. So, ang meaning, tabangan ka or i-encourage ka. Ha? Ang concept ani sa constructive feedback guys revolves and providing feedback that aim and helping the recipient or the students to improve their performance, behavior, or work quality. Ha? Ang kining constructive feedback guys, it is not about pointing out mistakes. It's about helping students understand their work and how they can take it to the next level. Ha? Ang kining constructive feedback mao ni siya ang feedback na i-encourage ka instead na i-discourage, i-encourage ka, ha? Para para maka-move forward ka to the next level. Para naay nindot nga result. Ha? Unya ang goal ani niya mao to siya to helpful and supportive, motivating the person or the students to learn and grow. So mao na ang goal sa constructive feedback. Okay? So next. So why is feedback important? So nganong importante man jud ang feedback? Okay. Importante ni siya guys because feedback helps students to understand their strengths and weaknesses. Ha? Nga rin na to mahibaw-an para masabtan sa isa ka estudyante kung asa siya mas kusog or asa siya mas hina. So, since nahibaw-an na nato kung asa siya yang kusog, asa ang yang hina, syempre, ang kining feedback guys helps students to identify na pod for the areas for improvement. Kung asa siya mas hina, adto nato siya, adto ta mag-feedback kung unsa ang dapat mas i-improve pa. Diba? Ara na nato makuan kung unsa pa ang mga strategy na atong ma-suggest for improvement sa isa ka estudyante. Okay? Okay, next. It helps the students set goals and track their progress. And last is, feedback motivates students to keep learning. Siyempre, kung mag-feedback ka, of course, ang isa ka estudyante, ilalas lang i-keep. Like, for example, ang isa ka naay nag-reporting no nya si teacher naay siya feedback na kanang maamayo imong reporting, you have a good performance and keep it up and kanang something na kanang i-encourage ka ba na kanang mas maayo pa ang imong buhaton sa mga susunod na imuhang kanang mga task na imong buhaton. So i-motivate ka, ha? I-motivate ka. So mao ni siya ang constructive feedback. Okay, next. So naatay mga types of constructive feedback. Okay. First is the positive feedback. So, ang kini siyang positive feedback, guys, involves recognizing and acknowledging someone's good work or behavior. It highlighted their strengths, achievements, and positive qualities. And positive feedback boosts morale, motivates to the individuals, and encourage them to continue their excellent performance. For example, one, maingon siya kanang maingon si teacher na kanang, oh, your presentation was engaging and well organized, and I particularly like how you incorporated and incorporate a real life examples to illustrate your point. So keep up the great work. So inana siya like more on positive ba i-encourage jud ka and natanaw sa kanang sa teacher na maayo imong performance, no? More on positive di siya. So the next is the type of constructive feedback is the negative feedback. So this type of feedback points out areas for improvement. So it should be specific and actionable so that the person receiving the feedback knows what they need to do differently. Kini siya guys sa negative feedback ari na nimo na makit-an ang kanang ngari nimo makita kung unsa yang mga mali, no? For example, maingon si teacher na while your project idea was creative, the execution's lack of detail and clarity. So providing more specific examples and refining your analysis would straighten your argument. So inana siya ba? Like ang imuhang kanang since na si teacher na ay nakita na mga lapses. So of course si teacher i-motivate ka. Dili kay i-discourage ka. Since na siya nakita na kanang na negative, instead na maingon negative pod ang iyang i-feedback. So ang iyang himuon the teacher is to encourage. Ha? Dili siya dili siya or kanang negative siya pero na siya nasulti na negative. Pero ang kinang negative na yung pagkasulti, gi-encourage ka ba? Gi-encourage ka. So mao na siya. So the next is the positive feed forward. So ang kini siya mo siya ang type of feedback guys na kanang nag-focus sa future and help someone and making mistakes, and it suggests alternatives approaches or strategies that could lead to the better results, no? So for example guys, si teacher miingon na kanang, oh, in your next assignment, try to incorporating more data to support your arguments, and this will help straighten your analysis and make your conclusions more convincing. Ang bot gipasabot ni positive feed forward guys. Kaya nabitaw nindot na ang imuhang performance. Nindot na imong performance, overall nindot na jud. But si teacher gitigaan kag advice na kanang gitigaan na kanang dapat consistent lang ka ba? Kinabutang maingon ka na kanang do not just do your best but always better than your best. So inana siya ba? So kanang dapat consistent ka ba kung unsa man ang imong nabuhat, kung excellent ang imong nabuhat karon, so sa susunod na kanang performance nimo mas better pa nato sa imong gihimo na performance dati. So mo na siya ang positive feed forward. So next, the negative feed forward. So this type of feedback also focuses on the future, no? But it warns someone about the potentials in consequences of their argument current behavior. So it can be helpful way to motivate someone to change their course of action. So ang kini siyang negative feed forward guys, like kanang for example kanang nag-report ang students. So si teacher ning inana siya na kanang kanang ang feedback kanang sa imong report kay kanang medyo nakulbaan ka, na feel ako na nakulbaan jud ka. So mo na giingon ni teacher, nakulbaan medyo nakulbaan ka. So next time kanang kailangan nimo na kailangan mag-practice ka sa kanang daghang tao na dili ka mahadlok or di ka makulbaan. So inana siya ang negative feed forward guys. Okay, next. Okay, so ari na ta. So how to provide constructive feedback. So unsa na to pag-provide sa isa ka estudyante na constructive. Okay, first is focus on the behavior, not the person. So kumughatag tag constructive na feedback guys, dili ta mag-focus sa isa ka tawo. Dita mag-focus sa tao ba? Like for example, kanang kabati ba nimo kanang nag-report siya niya, ingnan mo ingon ng teacher, bati kay mong outfit, bati kay muhang kanang naong ana ba, something like that ba? Dili ka mag-focus sa person, mag-focus ka sa behavior. So when giving feedback guys, it is important to address specific actions or behaviors rather than attacking the persons themselves. So this helps to avoid personal attacks and keeps the focus on the behavior that needs improvement, no? instead of saying na kanang moingon ka na kanang you're always lazy and unreliable, no? Instead na moingon ka na, so imong ingnon ang isa ka estudyante na, oh, I noticed that you missed the deadline, you missed the deadline for the project. So it is important for you to meet our deadlines to ensure the team success. So ina na ba? Mao na siya. So, next is be specific and actionable. Ha? Instead of making vague statements, provide specific examples of the behavior you observe, no? And this allows the recipient or the students to understand exactly what they did and how it can be improved. And additionally, offer actionable suggestions or solutions to help them make the necessary changes. So, instead na kanang magsige kag point out sa iyahang mga mali, give the solution kung unsa man ang mas makatabang sa iyaha. Give the solution. Or give some suggestions or strategies kung unsa man ang kanang ang mas better na kanang i-work on or mas better na buhaton para ma-improve ang isa ka estudyante. Mao na siya ang pag-provide of constructive feedback. And next is focus on strength as well as the weaknesses. So while it is important to address the areas for improvement, it's equally important to recognize and highlight the person's strengths. Acknowledging their strengths can boost their confidence and motivations to work on their weaknesses. So, syempre, as a teacher, dapat kumuhatag constructive feedback. Of course, moingon gid ta na kanang dapat moingon ta ba na kanang kanang maayo kay kaana, maayo kay kaana nya kanang maayo kay kaana dapita nya kanang however kari dapita kay medyo kanang nakuan ka. So kanang maghatag ka og kanang kuan, maghatag ka og kanang unsay tawagan na kanang maghatag kag solution ba. So ang imong gisultian, ang estudyante na imong gisultian. So syempre kanang ingon siya, uy maayo kay kaana, maayo kay ka ma-drawing, maayo kay ka mo kanang sayaw, mo inana ba, maayo kay mong performance, maayo kay ka mo report. Syempre si students ma-encourage, ma-motivate, di ba? Ko kinsa masay di ma-motivate anang kanang giingnan kag wow, nindot jud kay mong reporting, nindot jud kay, di ba? Tagaan na tog motivation ang isa ka estudyante. Dili na to kanang discourage ba, ha? Di na to i-discourage. Kay kung once magud na mohatag tag mga negative na makapa-discourage sa isa ka estudyante, ang isa ka estudyante may possibility na ma-stress, ma-depress, di ba? Ma-depress ang isa ka estudyante. Mao bitong how to provide a constructive feedback or unsay concept jud ana na constructive feedback. Unsay concept ana niya ba? Di ba? Huh? Ang concept ana niya sa to help the students to learn and grow. So mao na siya. Dili ta maghatag og mga kanang negative criticism na makapa-discourage sa isa ka estudyante. Kay syempre ma-discourage ang isa ka estudyante. Syempre mawagtangan na nagpaglaom, di ba? Mawagtangan na nagpaglaom. So next, create a safe and supportive environment. So, feedback should be given in a safe and supportive environment where the person or the students feels comfortable and open to receiving feedback. So, ensure that the feedback is given privately and in a respectful manner without belittling or humiliating the person. Ha? Dapat pero depende ni siya sa situation. Depende ni siya sa situation. Kung na-feel mo na kanang dapat as a teacher, kung feeling mo ang imong feedback is kanang sa private lang na dapat siya ra ang makahibaw ba, adto nimo ihatag ang feedback nimo in a private place where the students kanang makomfortable ang students ba. Kay naa bay ubang teacher ha, naay ubang teacher nga maghatag sila og kanang feedback without knowing kung angay ba na siyang i-public ang paghatag sa kanakila na feedback, di ba? Oh, naay ubang teacher na inana. So, kita as a future educator ha, dapat atuging hunahunahon gid na when we giving the feedback to the students, ha? Atong hunahunahon kung ang atong feedback ba angay ba na siya isulti public or sa kanang within the classroom ba kanang sa mga atubangan sa mga ato ang mga estudyante or sa iyang mga classmates, ha? Ato na siyang hunahunahon ha as a future educator na kanang kini siya okay ra ni siya isulti public, ha? Kini okay ra siya, kini okay private ako na siyang kaistoryahon, ako na siyang kaistoryahan privately. Oh. So as a teacher dapat inana ta. Kay kung namagoy mga kanang usahay na si teacher mo hatag og feedback kana bitong dapat sa private na ginagisulti, di ba? Ako nakasuway jud ko. Titigaan kog feedback na kanang dapat sa private na lang jud gisulti. So ako sad, syempre ako nauwaw ko sa iyang gisulti. Kay instead na ang iyang magong feedback ato sa kuha before kay something like di-discourage ba kanang more on kanang iyang nakitaan sa kuha kay mali mga inana kanang lain kay kamo kuha lain ka na inana ba. So dapat kita as a future educator ha, dapat kumuhatag ta og constructive feedback sa isa ka estudyante, dapat kuanta ka ng professional ta ba, like atong unahon na unsay mas makatabang sa iyaha, dili on more on negative kundi mag-suggest ta og mga strategies para kung unsa ang buhaton, kung unsa pa ang mas better na buhaton para naay good result. Next, nganong naama ni si be respectful? Nganong naama ni siya? Ha? Nganong naa ni siya? Ang kini siyang be respectful, guys, it is crucial to maintain a respectful tone and approach when giving feedback. Avoid harsh or judgmental language that may discourage the person from accepting the feedback. Instead of focus on providing constructive and objective feedback that is intended to help them and grow. Di ba? Kung mohatag-tag ka ng feedback, guys, as a teacher, as a future educator, as a future teacher, please, kung mohatag-tag feedback sa itong mga estudyante, dapat kalmara ato ang tone sa voice. Dapat maghatag-tag feedback in a professional manner. No? Like, kanang kalmara ba? Para bitaw, dili, kanang mga, pero, take note ha na kanang, dapat di ta magamit o mga words na kanang maka-discourage jud sa isa ka estudyante. Magamit instead na magamit ta og words na mga positive na maka-encourage sa isa ka estudyante. Ha? Magamit tag mga words para ang kitong estudyante ma-motivate, di ba? Dili mawagta ng paglaom. Kay kita, lahi-lahi biya tag feelings and emotions na arabay mga soft-hearted, no? May mga soft-hearted, wata kay ba as a teacher ha, as a future teacher, we should know, ha, dapat kibaw dili ta mag-focus lang sa isa ka kanang butang kundi mag-specific mag-specific, I mean mag-focus ta in everything, ha, mag-focus ta in everything. Yeah, be professional and respectful. Okay, so next, okay, next is receiving constructive feedback. So kung natay gitawag na provide constructive feedback, na po tayo gitawag na receiving constructive feedback. Okay. So, first is maintain openness. So, syempre, as a receiver, si students, dapat you should be receptive to feedback and willing to learn. So dapat kung gitigaan kag feedback, dapat maminaw jud ka og kanang ipakita gyud mo ba na kanang I'm willing to learn. Kini ako na siyang i-apply jud ang kung sa man ang ipakita ba i-show nimo siya sa ilaha ba na kanang ang kitong ilang feedback kanang naminaw jud ka og willing to learn, no? And also ask clarifying question. So syempre as reader you have to seek to understand the specific points being made. And also acknowledge strengths, appreciate the recognitions of your accomplishments. Kay dili kay na kanang dapat mo appreciate ka ba kung unsay mong na-accomplish, i-appreciate nimo. Ay ang kitong imong mga na-accomplish ipapatong himuong motivation para mas kanang to the next kanang kuan level, mas kanang mas nindot pa ba sa mas nindot pa mas better pa ba, mas nindot pa ang imong na-accomplish kaysa sa imong naka-accomplish sa una, di ba? Inana na siya. And focus on solutions. Work with the feedback provider to develop strategies for improvement, no? So, syempre mukan ka dili kanang kini siya dili siya giingon na kanang makig kanang kuan ka makig kanang makig to kanang kuan ka ba kanang patabag kanang magpatabang ka ba kanang I mean ang imong himuon ani as a receiver, as a student, kuan ka bang kanang mo diba ask ka questions. So magkuan ka siya kung unsa pa ang mga unsa may strategy jud ba? Unsa may strategy na buhaton, unsa man ang strategy ang kanang mas maayo para ma-improve pa ba ang isa ka estudyante. So inana siya. And also express gratitude. Of course, di ba? Kailangan ta magpasalamat, no? Thank to the person for taking the time to provide feedback. So of course na magina mawagtang no, so magpasalamat jud ta sa teacher or sa kitong naghatag og feedback sa imuha or sa atua. So inana ra na siya. So I guess that's all my report. So the conclusion. So therefore constructive feedback serve as a powerful tool for the student's success, and by providing specific actionable guidance, it empowers students to take ownerships of their learning journey and reach their full potential. So, as a future educator, as a future teacher, dapat constructive ang atoang feedback. So, I will this is all part of my report, so I will pass the next topic to the next reporter. So, thank you.
So good day everyone, I am Tichi and this is the continuation. So moving on to the next topic entitled Adjusting Assessment Based on the Outcome. So this was just a short discussion. Hope everyone should be attentive. So starting on, so the first one is using assessment information to adjust instruction as a fundamental to the concept of assessment for learning. Teachers make these adjustments in the moment during classroom instruction, as well as during reflection and planning periods. So, it means teachers use the knowledge and learn from the questioning and monitoring to adjust their teaching during the classroom instruction if students are unable to answer a question. The teachers may need to rephrase the question, examine earlier knowledge, or adjust the approach to the current notion. And the next one is, and it's important for teachers to learn to identify when only one or two students are individual help because they are struggling with the concept, and when a large proportion of the class is struggling, so whole group intervention is needed. So defining individual student help, so this means only one or two students in a class may have difficulty grasping a concept. In such cases, providing individualized support such as targeted explanations, additional examples, or one-on-one assistance can help address their specific needs and facilitate their understandings. So, individual students help entails providing tailored assistance and support to specific students who are having difficulty comprehending a concept or completing a task. So teachers should remember this. The first one is we have the targeted explanation. So when we say a targeted explanation, it is offering additional explanations or clarifications tailored to the student's level of understanding. The second one is we have the extra practice, providing additional practice opportunities or resources to reinforce the concept. The third one is we have the one-on-one instruction, working with the students individually to address their questions and concerns in a focused manner. So the fourth one is we have the scaffolding. So when we say scaffolding, it is a breaking down the concept into smaller or more manageable steps and gradually increasing the complexity as the student gains confidence. And the last one, which I was not able to include, so please take down note, as we have this feedback and guidance. So when we say feedback and guidance, it is offering constructive feedback and guidance to help the student identify areas for improvement and develop effective learning. So what was that all mean? So in overall, individual student assistance seeks for dealing with a specific learning and needs problems improve mastery of the topic and ensures that every student has opportunity to excel academically. So moving on to the whole group intervention. This means if a large percentage of the class is struggling with the same subject, it may suggest the need for the whole class intervention. This could entail repeating the idea using a multiple teaching styles, providing more scaffolded education, or providing extra practice chances to ensure that the majority of the students understands the material well. A whole group intervention addresses a learning issue or concept misunderstanding that impacts a large section of the class. Rather than focusing on the individual pupils, the teacher tailors education to benefit the entire class. So this is how it works. The first one is we have revisiting the concept. Means that teachers may go back to the fundamental concepts related to the topic, providing a comprehensive review to ensure that everyone has a solid understanding before moving forward. The next one is we have the differentiated instructions. Simply means that implementing a varied teaching strategies or instructional materials to cater to diverse learning styles and abilities within the class. The third one is we have the interactive activities. So, defined as engaging the whole class in an interactive activities, discussions, or group work to encourage a peer learning and collaboration. The fourth one is we have the visual aids and examples. So, simply defines as using visual aids, real-life examples, or multimedia resources to enhance a comprehension and make the concept more accessible to all students. The fifth one is we have this assessment and feedback. So means administering a formative assessment or checks for understanding throughout the intervention to gauge a progress and provides timely feedback to the students. The sixth one is we have this additional practice. Means offering an extra practice, opportunities, or guided activities to reinforce learning and help students apply the concept in different contexts. The seventh one is we have the monitoring progress. Defines continuously monitoring students' progress and adjusting instruction as need based on the ongoing assessment data and observation. So this was just simply means that a whole group interventions allow teachers to efficiently address common misconceptions or areas of difficulty, provide a supportive learning environment, and guarantee that all students have opportunity to master the content.
So after the class is over, effective teachers spend time analyzing how well the lessons went, what students did and what did not seem to understand, and what needs to be done the next day. Evaluation of students' work also provides important information for teachers. If several students are confused about a comparable issues, the teacher should reteach it and develop innovative techniques to help pupils understand the material. If the majority of students finish the activities fast and successfully, the teacher may feel that the assessment was not sufficiently rigorous. With a teacher's grade, they may feel unsatisfied with the kind of assessment they have assigned, perhaps because they realize there was too much emphasis on lower level learning, that the direction were unclear, or that the scoring rubric needs to be modified.
In conclusion, finally, changing instruction based on assessment results is a crucial strategy that allows teachers to effectively fulfill their students' different needs, and analyzing assessment data allows the teachers to identify individual group learning gaps, strengths, and areas of improvement. Second one is we have continuous monitoring of students' development and continual reflection of teaching approaches ensure that instruction remains responsive and student-centered. Last one is we have by prioritizing instructional adjustments based on assessment results, educators may foster a supportive learning environment in which all students can achieve and attain their full potential. So thank you everyone for listening, and now I'll be giving the floor to the next presenter.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marjorie Kate Pizon, and today we will be discussing about assessing diverse learners in the social studies classroom. Hello, everyone. My name is Marjorie Kate Pizon from the Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Social Studies, and join me as we tackle the topic assessing diverse learners in the social studies classroom. So first, let's debuckle what is or what we mean by diverse learners. So here, a student who possesses unique characteristics, backgrounds, abilities, and learning styles that may differ from the traditional or average student population. So diverse learners refer to students who bring a variety of differences to the classroom, including things like their cultural background, abilities, learning styles, and of course, life experiences. So these differences can be anything from speaking a different language at home, or from having a learning disability, or excelling in a particular subject area. So moving on, recognizing and accommodating these differences is very important for us educators, or future educators rather, creating an inclusive learning environment where we ensure that all students can thrive. It means providing varied teaching methods or resources and support to meet the diverse needs of our student, ensuring that no one is left behind. So again, diverse learners encompasses a wide range of individual differences, including cultural and linguistic diversity, socioeconomic diversity, cognitive and learning differences, physical and sensory diversity, emotional and behavioral diversity. So we have cultural, linguistic, socioeconomic, cognitive, physical, sensory, emotional, and behavioral factors. So recognizing these, that students vary on multiple dimension and their needs may require varied instructional approaches, accommodations, and support services, addresses the diverse strengths, challenges, backgrounds, and identities of students to create inclusive and equitable learning environment. Diversity in learners can encompass a wide range of factors, including but not limited to those factors or the diverse learner that I've mentioned before. But this time, let's dig deeper to each and every type of diverse learner. So first, we have here the cultural and linguistic diversity. So students from various cultural and ethnic and linguistic backgrounds bring diverse perspectives and experience to the learning environment. Also, we have the socioeconomic diversity. Students may come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, which can influence their access to resources, support system, and of course, educational opportunities. Next one, we have cognitive and learning differences. Learners may exhibit difference in cognitive abilities, learning style, and processing speeds, requiring varied instructional approaches and accommodations. We have also here physical and sensory diversity, which talks about the students with disabilities or sensory impairments may require adaptations or assistive technologies to access and engage with learning materials effectively. The last one here we have emotional and behavioral diversity. So learners may experience a range of emotional and behavioral challenges such as anxiety, ADHD, or trauma, which can impact their learning experiences and require differentiated support. So, recognizing and accommodating the diverse needs and strengths of learners is very important for us teachers in creating an inclusive and equitable learning environments where we assure again that students can thrive and no one is left behind. While on the other hand, we also have learning style. So, learning style refers to the preferred way in which individual learn and process information, commonly categorized into visual, auditory, and kinesthetic or tactile. So, and sometimes additional modalities such as reading, writing, kay na-appeal na po diri. Pero let's focus lang sa to these three. So, first we have the visual learners. Visual learners prefer to learn through, again, visual aids such as diagrams, charts, and graphs. Mas easy sila makasabot ani. Auditory learners means they learn best through listening and verbal explanations, often benefiting from lectures, discussions, and audio recordings. So we have also here the kinesthetic learners or the tactile learners. They prefer on hands-on activities and experiential learning, engaging with materials through movement, touch, and manipulation. So while learning styles focus on individuals prefer to learn, diverse learners recognize the multifaceted nature of students' background, abilities, and needs. So, effective teaching practices consider both the diversity of learners and the variety of learning styles present in a classroom, offering differentiated instruction and support to address individual differences and promote learning for all students. So this type of teaching practices don't believe in one size fits all type of method in imparting knowledge to the students. They make sure that each and every students are well represented. So we have here assessment tools and strategies. We have three: assessing knowledge, assessing skills, and assessing values. So just as diverse instructional strategies are important, so too are a variety of assessment tools and strategies. These are three types of learning outcomes in social studies: knowledge, values, and skills. And assessment needs to be congruent with each type of learning. First one here is the assessing knowledge. Social study places significant emphasis to knowledge through understanding and simply memorize and recall. So I'm so sorry na kuan siya naputol. I don't know what happened. But the statement emphasizes that simply memorizing facts and informations in social studies isn't enough for true understanding and appreciation of the subject. Instead, though, students need to engage deeply with social studies issues, connecting facts to broader concept, analyzing their significance, and applying critical thinking skills. So think of it like build kag house, and memorizing fact is like nag-gather ka og bricks but wala kay blueprint, or like understanding unsaon pag fit together sa bricks but wala kay prior knowledge on how you to properly build a house na kanang sturdy and strong. So in social studies, students need to do more than collect facts. They need to understand the context, connections, and of course the implications rather of those facts. So for example, again, of just memorizing dates and events. Instead of just memorizing dates and events, students daw kay need sila mo explore sa causes and effects of historical events. Mo consider sila sa different perspective and evaluate sa impact ato sa society. This approach would greatly help students to develop their critical thinking skills, empathy, and a deeper understanding of complex social issues, preparing them not just to be a good student, but also an informed and engaged citizen. The next one here is assessing skills. So the assessment of social studies skills and processes require different strategies than the assessment of knowledge. Since skill development is ongoing, students continue to practice skills from cluster to cluster and throughout the year. So skills are best assessed by observing students in action, by discussing their learning strategies during conference and interviews, and by gathering data from student reflection and mga self-assessment. Next one here is assessing values. So a significant aspect of social study is the development of values related to active democratic citizenship. So values are implicit in what students say and do, and are not always measurable in the same way that knowledge outcomes are measurable. So similar to skills, okay, values are best assessed by observing students in action, looking for behavioral indicators of student values, and engaging student in critical dialogues. So the values related to citizenship do not apply solely within the confines of the classroom. So a number of social studies learning outcomes refer to student attitudes and behaviors in groups and communities beyond the school. So we have here also the strategies to create a more inclusive assessment for diverse learners in the social studies classroom. So first, to create an inclusive classroom, teacher should recognize and appreciate students' diverse background. They can do this by including materials that reflect various cultures, fostering open conversation and challenging stereotypes and biases. Secondly, to ensure fairness in learning, teachers should assess student needs and offer varied instruction. This means using different teaching methods to accommodate diverse learning styles rather, and support students with disabilities through accommodation and using of technology and other resources to support their learning. Thirdly, for fair assessment, teachers should use various methods, give feedback promptly, and adapt assessment to suit each student's needs. So one size fits all doesn't have a place here. So this means using multiple assessment tools, offering specific feedback, and adjusting assessment to match students' learning styles, abilities, and language skills. So, unsa ganitong learning styles, we have visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Additionally, to empower students, teachers should engage them in decision making and encourage ownership in learning. So this involves inviting student input, involving them in assessment, and promoting self-reflection and goal setting. So this can include providing opportunities for students to share their ideas and perspectives, and also encouraging them to do self-reflection, especially with them being responsible for their own learning. student-centered approach. So, lastly, to foster inclusivity, teachers should continually develop their skills. This means attending workshop on diversity, using resources for diverse learners, and sharing ideas with colleagues. So, um, by implementing these strategies, teacher can create inclusive assessment that accommodate the diverse learning needs of our students in the social studies classroom. At the same time, we are promoting equity and fairness, and of course, foster a positive and supportive environment for everyone, ensuring that we have a place for the students to feel like they are not left out or they're not left behind, and a place where each students can thrive. And I believe that would be all for my part. And thank you so much for listening. Again, this is Marjorie K. Quizon. Thank you.
Hi, class. My name is Teacher Merquilin. In today's presentation, we would like to continue the topic reporting about the ethical consideration of assessment. So, um, so let's proceed to the definition of the two terms given, the ethics and the assessment, and what is the difference between ethics and assessment in the principles of making decisions. So ethics refers to the application of moral principles in the way that we conduct our individual or group behavior, while assessment, it is evaluating or judging the quality, value, or significance of something, such as situations, action, or outcome. So, in level of decision making, um, it helps um, that assessment is to make judgment to help in the way of giving idea or giving an opinion based on criterion or what level of perception that you need to give on that specific performance of the students. But in terms of ethics, we should know what should we need to do, should do, because there's a lot, because ethics, it is a principles of what is right and what is wrong. So in doing assessment, in doing a judgment, we should know what is the good thing that we need to utter in our mouth. Or let's say that in making judgment, in general sense, in making judgment, we should know what is the right thing to do to make a fair and no biases happen in giving a judgment. So let's proceed. So what is the ethical assessment, by the way? So ethical assessment refers to the practice of conducting evaluations, tests, or measurements of individuals' abilities, knowledge, skills, or other attributes in a manner that upholds moral principles and values. And these principles have three. So, first is respect for persons, second is justice, third is beneficency. And by the way, ethical assessment, it is the thing that um we should utter always, that it is a matter of making judgment in a way that thinking to do good, to choose the better choices or the better judgment for that particular um performance, to show that there's a good manner upholds on that particular situation. That's it. So let's start with the first principle. Um, respect for persons. So respect for persons. Every judgment, if we will give judgment, we should always see or we should always think that it is good for that particular person, or it will not comes in our mind to hurt someone feelings. So let's recognize the inherent dignity and autonomy of individual being assessed. Next is justice. Justice, it is upholds fairness and equitable treatment throughout the assessment process. Of course, in giving assessment, we should not give biases. We should be fair and we should be authentic, especially being accountable of our judgment given to that particular student or situation. Next is beneficency. Beneficency, it is a concept of research ethics wherein it is the concept of doing good, choosing to doing good rather than choosing a white lies or bad thing that which not good or will affect the mental health of that particular person. Which beneficency, it is ensure assessment promote the well-being and the best interest of those involved. So, what are those three principles of ethical assessment? There is respect for persons, justice, and beneficency. So let's proceed to the examples of, the feedback, by the way, the feedback results. So in ethical assessment, it is describing, giving the contribution of different principles in in assessment. This time it is the feedback result. So feedback result, we have the meaningful feedback. So the meaningful feedback, it is provide clear, constructive, and timely feedback to individuals on their assessment results, focusing on their strength areas for growth. For example, during our role play, that Ma'am Porte assigned us to give an evaluation. To assess. So evaluation. So in doing evaluation, we should assess. We give judgment on their performances, and in doing assessment, there should in doing assessment, ma-involve na pud nimo si evaluate kay. When you evaluating, you need to make judgment man through your criteria. So that's it. And next, we have the accurate presentation. So ensure that the assessment results are interpreted correctly, considering the limitations of the tools and the unique circumstances of the individual. In short, accurate presentation, and also in general sense, it is good words of using to have a good interpretation at the end of the presentation. So next, we have appropriate use. The appropriate use is use assessment data responsibly, or only for the intended purposes and in ways that support the individual's development and well-being. Yes, of course. In doing judgment, it doesn't mean that um you want to say something about that everything you want, but you are, or you are not, you're down below to your belt nga nasubraan na di ay ka to make a judgment. So that's why we should use appropriate use of data, language, especially your thoughts, that it will help for the development and progress of the students. That's it. So the feedback results will be meaningful feedback, accurate presentation, and appropriate use. So next, let's proceed this example of ethical dilemmas. So first, let's proceed to the data privacy. Mm. The situation here is when students take online quizzes, they may be required to provide as their name, student ID, or email address. Schools must ensure that this data, is collected and stored securely. Following relevant data should be informed about what data is being collected and how it will be used. Of course, in ethical assessment, we should we assess students in their information when they go to the university, or for us to have that particular data. But we should be aware, or we should be accountable to that data that they given, as there is there that is confidential to that student. Next, um why it is part of ethical dilemmas, because the right thing you need to do is follow the rule, follow the law, that you need to keep that secure. And if in the bad side, that's either you will disseminate, or you will scatter the information of that particular person and different person without their consent, which is that's already wrong. That's why it is one of the example of ethical dilemmas, or ethical that need to assess. Next is transparency and accountability. In this part, we have schools should be transparent about their assessment practices, including how assessment are developed, administered, and graded. Students should have access to information about the criteria used to evaluate their performance and how assessments contribute to their overall grades or academic progress. Additionally, there should be mechanisms in a place for students to raise concerns or file complaints regarding assessment practices. Yes. We should be see the transparency and accountability when we can say that. For example, a teacher given an essay writing, let's say dili na lang essay writing, let's give it oral recitation. Then her oral recitation has a criteria based on, it is a essay kwan man, essay oral recitation. It is subjective, not objective. So there's a kwan content sa imuhang essay mo 10%. Ano na. Yan napay kuan kanang relevant to the question. So ato butang 5%. Yan ba? There's a representation. So that is a transparency that this is the basis of the grades of that particular student, and accountability because we will present it to them. We will grade it, then post it or send it to them, that is their scores on that particular oral recitation. Next, we have the crime and punishment. No, that is not crime and punishment. By the way, I think I never changed it, but this part is fairness. So, online quizzes should be designed and administered in a manner that promotes fairness and equity among all students. This includes ensuring that assessment accurately measures students' knowledge and skills, regardless of factors such as socioeconomic status, disability, cultural background. Schools should consider accommodations for students who may require additional support or alternative assessment methods. Yes, of course. Fairness in a way that, for example, students is ni take sila exam pero kaning nga bata is wala siya ka-take. For what reason? Kay na hospital siya because of some kanang na feel niya, or UTI siya kalit ni sulod ng UTI. So that is to be fair, you are as a teacher, it is your choice to do the right thing. So what is the right thing? For to that students nga feel niya nga fair siya sa uban, imo siyang patikon sa exam nga gitikan, or sa mga quizzes nga take siya mga kauban to those particular days nga wala siya ka-eskwela, because that is her freedom. Kaya nga no, wala man po natutuyo nga nasakit siya na that particular nga kanang nga adlaw nga mounting example. That's why we should be fair and equitable nga. We should give additional support or alternative way nga pwede mapangitaan na to para sa ato ang nga students. So, in conclusion to this ethical consideration, ethical consideration of assessment, in conclusion, ethical considerations play a vital role in design, administration, and implementation of assessments in a school setting. By prioritizing ethical principles, educators and administrators can ensure that assessments promote fairness, respect students' rights, and contribute to a positive learning environment. Schools can create a learning environment where assessments serve their intended purpose of measuring student progress and achievement while upholding ethical principles and respecting students' rights and dignity. So, that's for this group presentation. So, thank you and God bless, students.